I do think things should be funny, and, I think a lot of people think music isn't funny, but sometimes it's very funny, and I want my music to have, like, a full I mean, I've written so much music, probably, like, 800 pieces, something like that, and most of them, like, don't come out or they're not, like, good enough or, whatever, but I find almost like an actor where I try to keep pushing against the boundaries of what I'm doing. Like, I wanna expand every direction, right? So, if it rocks, can it rock harder? Can it rock way less harder? Can I do something really, really slow? For a while, I was writing a lot of slow music where I want everything to be just, take your time. I mean, we talked about that because that was when you were working on Orchard, that's what I was into. And, just trying to dig deeper, see what I can pull out of myself, you know?
Yeah.
And then the discipline part, the working part, it's not, I do believe that people should work at a pace that they're comfortable with, but I am comfortable working myself very, very hard and not, being stubborn and not giving up when things get difficult. So I guess those are kind of the pillars, but they're not didactic pillars. You know what I mean? I would never tell someone like, write 12-tone music or, you're too passe or don't write
Right.
12-tone music because that's too passe. It wouldn't occur to me to do that.
I was going to bring up the role of humor in your music because that's something that's always kind of stuck with me. And you mentioned your album Chamber Music from Hell, which is it's just that alone is kind of funny. So, um, and of course, listening to some of your music, and I mean that quality is in Frank Zappa's music too. Like, there's a decent bit of humor. I mean, there's a lot of humor in his music, and a lot of satire in his music. So you even say on your site that your compositions often benefit from your sense of humor. So can you discuss what this means more specifically? I mean,
Well, and endears me to audiences, and this is an audience that's really unpopular to talk about, but you do want people to come to your concerts, and I am not handsome, and I am not in shape, and I'm not like ostentatious or pretentious really. I'm a composer, so I have some pretension, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But like, what's the audience getting out of coming to this concert? Like, they're gonna get this like guy who plays these pieces that are sometimes beautiful and sometimes funny, but they also get this kind of like HBO stand-up TV host guy personality, like telling them how the music works. And like, I got a lot of criticism about that in my academic career, but I also got people to come to these concerts and have fun. And that was important to me. Like, the audience should be a part of what's happening. Like, I remember when I did the Cribbage Variations, I got a lot of flack about running a 12-tone piece and a lot of flack about, it being passe or whatever. But I was like, you're not the audience for this. Like, the audience for this is the Frank Zappa fans who are interested in Perez and Webern and want to experience that kind of music where they can relate to and understand. And what I wanted to do there was like part of the piece was written so that you could analyze it in a really kind of straightforward way. Because a lot of Babbitt analysis is about trying to find the rows and calculating the rows and stuff. And I thought, what if it was just totally obvious what the row was? If I made
yeah,
no attempt to obfuscate or hide it anywhere in the piece for all 15 movements,
yeah,
what would that be like for an experience? And what I found was that I felt like people analyzed it, they would very quickly talk about other things besides the row, right? Because it was, it was there. And it actually was inspired by an email I got from Scott Tunis, who played bass with Frank Zappa in the 80s, throughout the 80s. And he emailed me. I was talking about Dupree's Paradise, and he said something. I'm going to kind of paraphrase. It was something about like how he had tried to commission a sequel to this Webern piece that he liked, Concerto for Nine Instruments, and from Bruce Fowler, but he was too busy playing cribbage with Mike Keneally on the bus to do any work.
yeah,
And I thought, like, I'll do this piece. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because I thought it'd be funny to take the rules of cribbage and then combine them with 12-tone music. But it wound up like being kind of deep because even though it's a joke, there's a lot of the 12-15 parallel, like having 15 note phrases with 12 pitches and all that. It wound up like really inspiring me to try things. And it also, I felt like I was getting a PhD in music composition that, in music history, a lot of times professors were often dismissive of some of these techniques, like Cajun techniques or, 12-tone music in general or that kind of stuff. But I felt like if I did them, I would have the knowledge of someone who actually did them,
Yeah.
and I'd
Right.
be more useful to my students because I can confidently say, like, when you do this thing, this is what the experience is like. So there's another piece on Cheerleaders from Hell called Composition 5, where I rolled dice to generate all the pitches and rhythms. And it sounds like on paper that I totally gave up the composition process altogether, right? It sounds like I just randomly threw some notes on the page. But what I quickly found out was each movement has its own different operation. The way I did it was different, but you have full control over the outcome. All it's doing is getting me out of my head, right? So instead of obsessing, like, do I want G sharp here? I'm like, okay, I have G sharp. But all the other things that make you compose, the way you form phrases, the octaves you choose, the rhythms you kind of choose, like the way the counterpoint works, the timbre, the melody, all these things are still in operation, even if you decide a third party magical process is going to determine your notes and rhythms for you.
Right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.